Kinnah Zayin ends with the following suggestive line: Reganti v'ata a'ada ad chuk shemayim. I have complained, and now I will soar to the sphere of heaven. The word Raganti is borrowed from the episode of the spies. Upon the return of the spies from their sojourn into the land of Israel, they reported negatively about the possibility of the Jews conquering that land. This demoralized the Jews, who then, as is described in Parshas Devarim, which is read the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av, "Hatiragnu va'alechem v'tomru." You complained, again, this Shorish, Reish Gimel Nun, to complain, you complained in your tents, and you said, "B'sinas Hashem osanu hosianu me'eretz Mitzrayim." Through the hatred of God, He took us out of Egypt. This, as we know, is the seed, is the beginning of the sadness of Tisha B'Av. At the end of Kinnah Zayin, the Mikonain, the author of the Kinnah, recalls this beginning of Tisha B'Av. However, that line is suggestive in another way, as it implies a transformation of the Mikonain's approach to mourning on Tisha B'Av. Reganti, I've complained, and now I'm finished complaining. V'ata a'ada chuk shemayim. Now I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to soar up to heaven. And so we see in Kinnah Ches a number of verbs: a'adeh, a'aleh, a'or, what I will do, what I will, the Mikonain, the actions that I'm going to take in response to the events of Tisha B'Av. This Kinnah Ches, should be contrasted with the third chapter of Eicha. Both have a tripartite aleph-bet structure. Each stanza has three of each letter, aleph, three alephs, three bases, three gimels is each stanza. And then there's, at the end of each stanza, one line that is es onein, I will do something, but the second letter after the letter after the aleph in that line is from the atbash, the opposite of aleph, aleph and taf, beis and shin, gimel and resh, and so on and so forth. In Perek Gimel of Eicha, we see Yirmiyahu speaking as an individual and complaining about the troubles that Hashem has caused him. Reading from the English of the Art Scroll from the beginning of the third chapter of Eicha, it says, I, meaning Yirmiyahu, I am the man who has seen affliction by the rod of his, meaning Hashem's, anger. He, Hashem, has driven me on and on into unrelieved darkness. Only against me did he, Hashem, turn his hand repeatedly all day long. He has worn away from my flesh and skin. He, again, Hashem, has broke my bones. He, Hashem, besieged and encircled me with bitterness and travail, and so on and so forth. So, while Yirmiyahu in Perek Gimel complains about what Hashem did, the Mikonain in Kinnah Ches describes what he will do in response. What is it, in fact, that he will do? So starting with stanza aleph, we can see, A'ada chuk shemayim. I could soar up to the sphere of heaven. A'aleh iti shemayim. I would make the heavens lament with me. Or yom racharivi pa'amayim. I would curse the day on which I was twice destroyed. And the Mikonain goes on to insist that what he will do is cause the whole universe to complain towards Hashem, to tell Hashem to weep for the destruction of the temple and the destruction of the Jewish people, their exile from the land of Israel. And this goes on through the stanzas Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, again with almost every line starting with the verb of what I will do. Avchin, Avchana, Avakeh, Egada, all Atid, I will do something. This takes us to the stanza Ches, which starts Ach nifsha mikriyas oz al-tzur. Brother Israel separated by the symphonies from Jerusalem, the mighty city, and exiled to Tyre. This is now a description, not what the Mikonain will do. There are no verbs in stanza Ches, but a description of Galus itself. Taking us then into stanza Tes, which is a description of what the Mikonain will do in Galus. Eta ahali apadni b'talmaves. I will pitch my palatial tents in the very shadow of death. The Art Scroll adds on a postscript, for life is worthless in exile. It doesn't seem to me that the Mikonain says that. In fact, it seems to me quite the opposite. Having now described what the Mikonain is going to do, having caused upheaval throughout the universe, causing all heavenly bodies to complain to God, the Mikonain now insists that he, in fact, will survive Galus. Right? I will be able to pitch my palatial tents in the very shadow of death. Atus ve'eshkona chatzar maves. I will survive flying off and finding rest in death's courtyard. I will associate with those who wait for death, but I will survive them all, and I will survive this gullus as well. This then transitioned to stanza Yud. Eyulasila ezrasi tarti chazos. I seek to witness the fulfillment of my plea. O my strength, God, come to my assistance. Eyumasi v'choshana omeres hiashana hazos. My awe-inspiring nation proclaims every year, this is the year of the redemption. Now, the Mekonen has some hope, has a belief that eventually redemption will come. This is emphasized by the word ayumasi, which again is a quote from Shir Hashirim, from Song of Songs, which describes the pleasantness, the courtship, the relationship between God and Bnei Israel. The relationship is currently broken, but it will be repaired in the future. And so, in stanza Chaf, the Mekonen goes from action to prayer. Ekof lecha rosh Hashem cheli. I shall bow my head to you in penitence, Hashem. Echra lecha berech lechatel machli. I will bend my knee in supplication to you to bandage my exile wounds. And so the Mekonen has, through Kinnah, transformed from complaining to action to hope to prayer. And now, for the first time in the Kinos, we see Hashem's response. And at the very end of the Kinnah, Hashem responds using the very words that the Mekonen started with. Reganti v'hilalti ume'ayli v'nishpachu. I grumbled and I groaned, says God. My innards and my heart were spilled out in grief. Echati farti me'ra'ashosai hashlichu. Oh, how they have thrown my splendor from my head. It is not God promising redemption. It is not God promising becoming the Messiah speedily and within our days. It is, in fact, God responding of, this is what you did. But a conversation has begun, a conversation which will hopefully eventually lead to reconciliation and a return of the Jews to Eretz Yisrael.